Hey there, and welcome back to the British Accent Podcast. I'm Nick.
And I'm Emily. If you've ever said, I really want to improve my English, but I just don't have time, this episode is for you.
Exactly. Because the truth is, you're not alone. So many learners feel that way. Between work, school, family, and just life, who has time to sit down and study for hours?
Right? But here's the good news, you don't need hours. Today, we're going to talk about how to practice English when your schedule is already full. How to fit learning into your real life, not your ideal one.
And that means letting go of the idea that English practice has to look like sitting at a desk with a textbook. Sometimes it's 5 minutes with a podcast while you walk to work. Sometimes it's thinking in English while you do the laundry.
Exactly. Learning can be flexible. It can be quiet, simple, and still powerful. So let's dive into some honest, doable ways you can keep growing in English, without burning out or falling behind.
Because being busy doesn't mean you have to pause your progress. It just means you need a new kind of strategy. Let's explore that together.
One of the easiest ways to start is by switching your input. If you're already listening to music, try English songs. If you're watching a show, add English subtitles. You don't need more time, you just change how you use your time.
Yes. I always say, turn waiting time into learning time. Waiting in line? On the train? Washing the dishes? That's audio time. Pop in your earphones and listen to a podcast, a short audiobook, or even just a sentence or two from an English learning app.
That's such a game changer. And I love the idea of micro moments. People think practice has to be 30 minutes long, but even 2 or 3 minutes adds up, especially when you do it consistently.
And speaking of consistency, habits matter more than motivation. Don't wait until you feel inspired. If you attach English practice to something you already do, like brushing your teeth or making coffee, it becomes part of your day without extra effort.
Yes. Like reading one English sentence every morning while your coffee brews. Or saying 3 sentences out loud while you walk to your car. It's not about doing a lot at once, it's about showing up regularly, in small ways.
And if you're the kind of person who's constantly switching tasks, try using English in the tasks you're already doing. Write your to-do list in English. Set your phone language to English. Change your calendar reminders. Little things, but powerful.
Those environmental changes make a big difference. It's like training your brain to think in English without adding new tasks to your plate. It becomes natural, not forced.
And let's not forget, speaking can be quick, too. Record a 1-minute voice note to yourself in English at the end of the day. Or describe what you're doing while you're cooking. You don't need an audience, you just need your voice.
Exactly. And you don't need to be perfect either. Busy people often avoid speaking because they are afraid of making mistakes. But speaking messily is still speaking. It's practice. It counts.
It really does. The goal isn't to be perfect in 5 minutes, it's to get your brain used to using English in your real world. That's how fluency actually builds. Quietly, in motion, in your everyday life.
Another tip that works really well for busy people is using voice assistants. If you have Siri, Alexa, or Google Assistant, try giving them commands in English. Say, "What's the weather today?" or "Remind me to email my boss." It's quick, interactive, and helps with pronunciation too.
That's such a smart move. And if the assistant misunderstands you, it's not a failure, it's actually feedback. You get to try again and improve your clarity. Plus, it feels less intimidating than speaking to another person.
Speaking of people, if you do have a friend or co-worker who's also learning English, try texting in English just once a day. A quick, "How's your day going?" or "Guess what happened at work?" It doesn't need to be deep, just regular.
That's true. Texting is still language practice. And sometimes, we forget that reading a short reply and responding in English trains our brains just as much as formal writing.
And if you're someone who works long shifts, or has very little mental energy left, at the end of the day, focus on passive exposure. Play English in the background while you cook or clean, even if you're not paying full attention, your ears are still learning.
Exactly. That kind of relaxed exposure helps you absorb rhythm, pronunciation, and structure without pressure. It's the same way children learn, they hear things again and again before speaking.
And if you're a visual learner, post sticky notes around your house in English. Label the mirror, the fridge, the remote. That way, English isn't just in your phone, it's in your space.
That's a great point. The more you surround yourself with the language, the less it feels like a separate thing you have to fit in. It becomes part of your life, even in the busiest seasons.
And sometimes, it's not about doing more, it's about recognizing what you're already doing. If you listened to this podcast while commuting, you practiced. If you thought in English while shopping, you practiced. It all counts.
It really does. We just want to remind you, being busy doesn't mean you're not dedicated. It means you're human. And the fact that you're finding any time to engage with English? That's impressive.
You know, Nick, I think one of the most powerful shifts busy learners can make is this. Stop thinking, I didn't do enough today, and start saying, I did something. Even 5 minutes matters.
That's such an important mindset. When your schedule is packed, it's easy to feel guilty for not doing more. But that guilt doesn't help you grow, it just makes you feel stuck. And honestly, guilt is not a study strategy.
Right? You don't need to earn your right to learn by being perfect. You're allowed to learn slowly. You're allowed to learn tired. You're allowed to learn imperfectly. Showing up in any way is already something to be proud of.
And on the really hard days, when you've had no time, no energy, and maybe no patience, sometimes the best practice is simply being kind to yourself in English. Even if it's just saying, I'm doing my best.
I love that. Self-compassion is part of language learning, especially when you're balancing 100 other things. The truth is, you are doing your best. And you're not falling behind, you're moving forward at your own pace.
And that's a powerful thing to realize. Fluency isn't about doing more, it's about doing something consistently. Even if it's just one word a day, one sentence a day, one podcast episode during your commute.
Exactly. And there's no shame in learning slowly. Some of the most fluent English speakers I know got there by taking small, steady steps over years, not weeks. There's nothing wrong with the long road.
And you know what else? Busy people are often some of the most resilient learners. They're good at finding creative ways to fit English into their routines, because they have no other choice. That adaptability is a strength.
Absolutely. So if you're listening to this and you're thinking, but I only did 5 minutes today, we want you to hear this clearly, that was enough. Your 5 minutes mattered. It counted.
And maybe tomorrow it's 10 minutes. Or maybe it's another 5. That's how you build a habit. Not with pressure, but with patience.
So wherever you are, on your way to work, taking a short break, or winding down after a long day, just remember, you're learning. Every small step you take is a part of your progress.
Exactly. And don't underestimate the power of small, consistent effort. You don't need more hours in your day, you just need moments of intention. That's how busy people become fluent.
You're not behind. You're not failing. You're doing something that matters, even if it's quiet, even if it's short. Keep going, and be gentle with yourself.
We're proud of you. And we'll be right here whenever you're ready for your next small moment of English.
Thanks for joining us on the British Accent Podcast. We'll talk to you again soon.
Take care, and happy learning.